councilperson, a liaison to the various departments of the town of Huntington for oversight.
As far as I know, there has not been a liaison appointed. I believe there should have been a liaison appointed. I have gone over the budget, been involved in the budget process for the past 4 years, and it has been difficult for me to get information. I myself, as a council person, have been blocked, obstructed, and delayed from getting information. I have even had to use a freedom of information request to get information. Can you imagine that as a sitting council person?
As have I. So then I'm going to move my question to Cupperson. Councilman Cupperson, please. And Supervisor Petrone, who's had service for 20 years and 16 years. In those 20 years, Supervisor, have you ever appointed any of the councilmen liaisons as is your required responsibility under the Code of Ethics? And that failure to do so causes removal from office. And do you think you're above the law?
I think you're a little extreme in terms of removal of office.
Anyone can read the Code of Ethics. It's available on
Let's try.
Sorry, Mr. Petrone. Let's stick to one question, okay? And we're gonna have those people that do initially, okay? And then at the end, open forum. If you have follow-ups, you certainly invite follow-ups. We're also offering our website as any follow-up questions that you would like to email to.
Let it go.
We will submit.
Answer the question.
So if Mr. Petrone, you'd like to answer that question, who is your liaison, and what reports have you heard from them?
First of all, reports are not required. Okay? They are not required. One, two, liaisons keep changing, and we do this according to some of the topics that are at hand. At times, Councilman Cupperson's been liaison to our voting community. Susan Berland has been. I've had Mark Mayoka sit with me on occasion on the fiscal things. We do talk, we don't agree, but we do discuss it. I've had Mr. Cook liaison with the highway department. He offered this. Many of these things take place during our workshops and our exec sessions, and people take those responsibilities. Sue Berland is working with the fire departments. We've had several liaisons, and they've done the various jobs, and they change. They continue changing. Mr. Cupperson works with the law department because he does have that expertise. The idea of liaison is not so much to run an area or a department. A liaison is to bring information back basically to the supervisor, so that the supervisor can have assistance in administering. And we have done that.
Thank you, Mr. Petrone. Mr. Cook?
Early on when I came in, as I said, I went through general services and it was run horrendously. I asked Supervisor Petrone to be the liaison and to work with that group to take care of it. I was denied. The fact of the matter is that the head of general services is related to Mark Cupperson, so that it was sort of tying your hands up. You couldn't get anything done. I had not been able to get any information, and I, along with Mark Mayoka, have also had to file for freedom of information to get things, and I still, to this day, have not received it.
A well-run town is run by the supervisor, who is the chief executive officer, and the department heads, who by law administer those departments. The department heads under the town law hire and fire the employees and report to the supervisor. The job of a town board member on this municipal corporate board is not to micromanage the daily affairs of the town. That's not how a good corporation runs. That's not how a good organization runs. You elect the chief executive officer, a strong, good leader like Supervisor Petrone. We pick department heads who set policy. As town board members, do we have a say about how policy gets made? Sure, legislation, talking to department heads, but it's not to micromanage those people. Because when they're reporting to 5 different people instead of one executive, you have a prescription for disaster. You have a prescription for a poorly run organization.
Thank you, Mr. Cupperson. Thank you, Ms. Mandela. Appreciate it.
Good evening, everybody. Andrew Scanlon, I'm living in town of Huntington. This question is actually, it's going to be a tax question, but each section is superintendent of highways, and then you guys at the county level deal with the questions that each of you can answer. But I don't know if they could just go right down the line while I ask the question. The problem that we're facing on Long Island is that Long Island has become unaffordable to live. Okay, and this has been going on, and some of you guys are incumbents, so you have your records to run on, and you'll be able to hopefully give us the answers of how you've done things and why you've done things because of, to make things better on Long Island. I just looked on the website, and in the town of Huntington, the average real estate tax base is $12,323 per year. How do you expect young children, our children growing up in and about home, senior citizens, to be able to afford those kinds of tax bases? Now, I do realize that a big portion of that is your Board of Education taxes, and we do have a governor who put a 2% tax cap to try to keep that in place. I have not seen the town of Huntington trying to cap that over the period of your incumbency of 18 years. In fact, real estate taxes, I think, have gone up 120%. Okay? In the county, the way that you guys do your budgeting is behind, well, I would like to know what they're doing.
Okay, so what, if I could just paraphrase, what have you done, either working for the town of Huntington, working for the highway department, which is part of town of Huntington, or Suffolk County legislator, to make our lives a little more affordable for ourselves, young children, and senior citizens?
Exactly. Keep it in check.
Okay, absolutely. Would you like to start on the end, Dr. Spencer?
Sure, thanks for your question. What we've done is that for the first time, we've asked our county employees to pay into their health insurance benefits. We see that in the private sector, and we support our municipal employees, but that was a very difficult thing to do, but we've made those tough choices. We did look at our workforce, which is 10,000, and we did reduce the workforce by almost 10%, but we were able to maintain services. So we're saying, look, you've given us enough taxes. There are too many taxing agencies in New York and the county. What we've been able to do is hold the line by making those tough decisions. We have a lot of unfunded mandates in terms of pension costs that we get from the state, and then when we saw the recession, the downturn in our sales tax revenue, that had a big impact. But we did make tough decisions like closing the nursing home, and that was gut-wrenching for me as a physician. But we said, what do we need to do that the private sector can't do? And we let the private sector do the jobs that they do best. But we're continuing to maintain those services, and I'll continue to make those tough choices.
Thank you, Dr. Spencer. Mr. Norton?
Relating to the highway budget, we have the capital budget that we put together in May every year, which goes before the committee. And we also have the operating budget, which we put together, and then we have a meeting with the supervisor, which we have like early August, which we have this year every other year. We go over all the different items in the budget, and some might need increase, some might decrease. And then the supervisor by law has to put the budget for the year for everything before the town board by the 30th of September, which he has done. So I basically don't have any final say in what the highway budget is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norton.
What I wanted to do though is the guys who are also going to be elected, do they have any plans to?
Can we address that during economic development when they talk about their plans? Gentlemen, are you okay with that?
So you just having
Well, the question was, how have you made the town of Huntington more affordable? Or Suffolk County more affordable? Or not affordable? Okay, so that would have to come from people that have been in those positions. Okay, and I would invite that in another question where someone can ask, as your plan going forward. Okay? Well, we have people that are incumbents that are running against each other as well. Okay, Mr. Martin, would you like to address it?
Government is too big. Federal, state, county, town. The philosophy is take the taxpayer money, not worry how it's spent. And I see that all across different levels of county government, my interaction with it. We have to impart, we do in the private sector. You tighten your belt, you do more with less. You become efficient. That's one of the responsibilities of a county legislator, efficiency, to ensure that if there are parts of the government that aren't working properly, adjust it, shut down. But the levy of taxes, it's too much. Think about how much you've been paying for taxes. Go back 10 years ago. What you're paying today, are you getting the same services? Are you getting that much of an increase? Too big. This country was founded on limited government. And what we got now is a government that's putting limits on us.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. Mr. Conklin?
Yes, thank you. The general fund tax that the county has is a very small portion of your taxes that you get into your, on your tax bill. And although the county executive and the legislature say, well, we never raised your general fund tax, look a little deeper inside that and you'll see the police tax and other taxes that get raised, along with many of the fees that get raised. These things need to stop. When you're bonding out basic, when you're bonding out vehicles that are 7 years worth of use for a 20-year output, that's bad policy. And considering our bond rating has been dropped multiple times now, it's costing us more to borrow every single day. We need to stop this constant borrowing to pay even the basic of needs here in the county. And that, once we get these things under control and stop pushing out our debt, that's how we can get control of our taxes and not continue to keep raising and expect the taxpayer to just foot the bill. That's not the way it works.
Thank you, Mr. Conklin. Mr. Gunther?
Thank you. I am a fiscal conservative. I'm an elected fire commissioner in Centerport, and I'm into my second term, and I'm proud of that, because in the last 10 out of the 12 years, we've delivered a zero increase to the taxpayers in Centerport. And I pride myself on that by trying to take a little bit of money every year and put it away into a reserve fund so that when you need apparatus down the road, you're not looking to bond or borrow money to be able to purchase them. The same thing for buildings and grounds. You take a little bit every year and put it into a reserve fund so that we don't have to go to the public for a taxpayer increase. I want to be able to bring that to the Town of Huntington Highway Department. And with the town board's help, I'll be able to do that. I would like the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conklin. Ms. Edwards?
Yeah, I'd like to answer your question in two parts. One, I do think that we are doing. Can you hear me now? No, I don't know. I'm really not trying. Okay, so I'd like to answer your question two ways, because I heard you. One is the spending, and one is just affordability for the kids, right? So I do think that we are doing some things in terms of
Affordability for the young kids who are, growing up and seniors.
No, I got you. Here's what I'd say. I do think that we are doing some things. I do think that we could expand some joint purchasing. There are a lot of municipalities in the county. We're all buying things. We do some, we should do more, because that's a way for us to decrease some spending and save some money. But in terms of affordability, I want my grandchildren to stay here. And I want my mom to stay here. And, well, she's staying here because she's living with us. But I think that what we can do is take advantage of some of the state programs that are available, and the county just came out with one as well, that we could sign on to increase our down payment assistance and increase the opportunity for kids, for first-time home buyers, so that they could use some of the grant money that's available, that's going to other places. We can bring that back to the town of Huntington. We do have some, but there's a lot of money out there, so you can't really decrease your way out of things. Some things you have to do and try to bring more revenue and create more partnerships so that our kids can stay here.
I think the problem is that government should do much less than it does. the things that government does, it should do magnificently, but things that it shouldn't do. And I think that the problem here in Huntington is that we've reached a point where we are so overtaxed, where the town government spends so much money, and we've accumulated so much debt, that it really is going to burden our children and our grandchildren. In my opening statement, I talked about how we spend about $9 million a year paying interest on debt. One thing that I see from the Patron-Cuthbertson administration is that year after year after year, taxes go up, 17 out of the last 19 years, spending goes up, and debt increases. All three things in my mind are bad. I don't think taxes should go up, I don't think spending should go up, and I don't think debt should go up. But every year, all three do. I think that we need to do a lot better about holding the line on taxes. I work for myself, and I'm taxed so heavily by the federal government, the state government, the county government, the town government, that I have to put aside 60 cents of every dollar that I earn, so that I can pay all of the taxes that I'm required to pay. It's too much. And it makes it so that if you're starting out, you don't have enough money to buy that house, and if you've been in the same house for 30 or 40 years, you can no longer afford the taxes. We need to do better.
Thank you.
I think Josh Price said it very well when we are being taxed too much. We've been continuously taxed. Supervisor Petroni, Councilman Cuthbertson over the past 17 and 20 years respectively have increased spending year after year. Even this year, there's $1 million increase in spending. We have to hold the line on spending, which means that we have to hold the line on taxes. What can we do? Well, we can work to eliminate wasteful spending. That's what I did. I was rebuffed a year and a half ago. A year ago, we had a bond refunding. I said no to the bond refunding. I was supported by Councilman Cook, because it required a supermajority, so we were able to hold it. I reviewed the bond refunding plan. The plan was changed. We wound up saving an additional $1 million. There are things we can do, and we can be proactive. And I disagree with Councilman Cuthbertson saying you can't be a micromanager. If you have the ability to help slow down and reduce and eliminate wasteful spending, then I think it is incumbent upon you as a councilman to do that, to represent the public and to represent the representatives. Thank you.
I think the primary thing that is incumbent upon a council person to do is to participate in a budget process. And if you disagree with it, offer amendments to that budget. All the candidates say, listen, taxes are too high, we're overtaxed, these things are wrong about our spending. So as a council person, you get a chance to try and effectuate a change. And that chance comes when the budget gets developed to offer amendments. I hear Mr. Mayoka complaining about taxes. He has never offered a single amendment to the budget in all of his time. He has said that he is a fiscal expert, never offered an amendment to the budget. The primary thing that is incumbent upon us to do as board members is to work with the supervisor who develops the budget, then to amend that budget. Taxes are too high, tell us how to lower spending, and we'll look at that. But that's never been done. The fact is, in the last 4 years, you asked about the tax cap, sir, we've kept spending, the tax increases, at less than 1/2 of 1%. The tax cap is 2%. This year, the budget increase is a zero budget increase.
Thank you, Mr. Cuthbertson. Thank you. Mr. Cook?
What a line of crap that was. Okay, the fact of the matter is, in Frank's budget, we spent last month almost $4 million in paying over lawsuits that have to be paid by March 30th of 2014. The fact of the matter is that the line item for that, Mr. Patron had put in $300,000. There's a problem there. It's juggling money around, and I personally don't like it. Mr. Cuthbertson and Mr. Mayoka and I have worked diligently to try to feel out what's going on, but we've been blocked every chance we get. Back to your original question, I can tell you exactly what I've done. It's called management, proper management. Early on, the town wanted to take down a condemned building. on box support. It was condemned for 27 years, but they still used it, still had our employees in it. They wanted $35,000 to take the building down. I said, absolutely not. Frank and I had a couple of conversations about it, heated conversations. He said, fine, you want to take it down, take it down. I got together with the highway superintendent and refuse, and we took it down in one day. Okay? Now, $35,000 may not be a lot, to use, to take down a building. But what do you think that it cost? This is important. What do you think it cost?
Just a quick, I apologize. Let him talk. If you could just wrap up, please.
We actually made $260 by doing it ourselves in-house. That's good.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, I just want to talk to my timekeeper. Can you just give the 15-second warning again so I don't have to jump in there? Sorry. All right, thank you.
First and foremost, that building did come down, but Mr. Cook neglects to tell you that the foundation had to be taken down, the environmental work had to be done, and that was ignored. That had to be done. That cost what it would have cost to take the building down. It did not cost any less, it didn't cost any more. When we talk about being fiscally conservative, the first thing that came to Mr. Cook's mind when he met me, when he came in, was, I need 2 staff members. Can you increase one of my staff members? Very nice, and we did, because that was a request. Okay, that's cutting spending, I believe. When we talk about debt, I inherited $130 million in debt. I brought it down then to 100, and 4 years ago it was at 100. I'm at 86 million. We have less debt service now than we had. 7.7% on the dollar versus 27 cents on the dollar when I had come in. When we talk about the AAA bond rate, okay? Our bond counsel did the work. Our bond counsel did that, not Mr. Mayoka. Mr. Mayoka insisted to be involved in the process,
Okay.
and what he did is hold it up, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Petrone. Thank you.
I apologize, I didn't come here to ask a question. I saw the first woman was dressed.
Sorry, can we have your name, please, sir?
Oh, sorry, Patrick Deegan, a local resident and member of several civic community, several civic groups. I'm sorry, I gotta raise this because this is our work.
There you go.
Okay, in relation to the first question that was asked, very simply, she asked about what liaisons were appointed, if liaisons were appointed, and I felt it was what I saw as a political sidestep. I won't be intimidated easily. Very simply, can you, with your vast experience, happen to mention what it was she was referring to, where a liaison is appointed? What was in the town code? What provisions?
There's a provision in the code.
What code?
Of the town to
Well,
appoint, excuse me, I'm answering your question.
I want to know.
I'm sorry.
Can I just, Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
So we
I
want to
said I
know.
didn't want to include it.
I understand. We want to know what liaison specifically has been
No,
appointed.
I want to know, we're in a school, so let's use a test.
No, it's not a test.
It's not a test.
It's not.
Well, when it comes down to votes, you have
What is the
to
question,
competency
sir?
and ability.
Sir.
The question is, what code was she referring to?
The town code, I
No,
never.
what numbers?
That, I'm not giving you the numbers, I
You're not
can't tell you
giving
the numbers.
Okay.
What
well,
it is,
code
you
of
should
ethics.
know it.
I think
That's
the
the code of ethics.
best thing to
It's
do
the
with
only
that
section of
question
code
that you're
that
referring
I saw the
to.
bullet.
20 years, you
My
should know
opinion.
it. No other
Okay,
section.
sir, but I think what's happening right now, sir,
Yes.
You can't get a paycheck
okay,
until you sign that.
I've been very respectful,
Yes.
and I've always handled myself in a respectful manner. What I'd like you to do is to submit that question in writing.
Right.
And what we will do is we will get answers from the supervisor and the
Look at it.
3 council people sitting up on the board, and we will have it posted to our website.
Okay.
We are going to create a list of questions.
You'll post it to the website, I mean.
We will post it to our website and the Greater Huntington Civic Group. Sir, you have my email address. If you are not happy with it,
No, it wasn't a question for you.
I understand.
Why are you
Submit the
answering?
questions to them. They will have 72 hours to respond, and they're not. And he said it's part of the code.
It's like he's
And
protecting
the
us.
specific code number, the specific code number. Did anyone answer what specific code number? Thank you, sir. Okay. I'd like to open up the floor for any questions on LIPA or LIPA tax hike.
Yeah.
No, Ms. Friendly, I'm sorry, you're going to have to get somebody else in the audience to ask the question, okay? Because
We're allowed to ask questions for each of the topics, and there's no one else standing behind me on this topic, and I have a question.
Okay. We have a question over there. Ms. Friendly, if there is time, we do have other items we'd like to get to, okay? And I will personally take your question and have it done in
You should have
writing.
instructed everyone that they would not be able to ask questions
Believe Ms.
on
Mackey,
topic.
I believe Ms. Mackey addressed that at the very beginning.
On these topics, and you made a line, and you made a line. I apologize that I didn't,
Stay up there.
wasn't explained appropriately.
Stay up there. You can ask
Sir,
a
could you
question.
please state your name?
Good evening.
Don't back down.
Wellington Station. This question is directed to the current and prospective town board members and prospective and current town supervisors. I understand that LIPA is in the process of a tax certiorari. At this moment, I believe they are owed over $200,000, or $200 million, excuse me, $200 million for the last few years of being over-assessed. And I do know that the East Northport School District has benefited from the over-assessment of this plan for over 40 years. My question to all of you, based on my research, it is highly likely the town is going to lose their lawsuit. Who's going to pay the $200 million in back taxes besides the 30-some-odd million dollars per year after 10 years? Thank you.
And who, Mr. Harris, who will pay the $200 million?
Yes.
And who are you addressing that question to, sir?
To each and every one of the town councilmen and prospective town council people.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And the supervisor. Would you like to move it down the other way this time, Mr. Patron?
Sure. First and foremost, that's a certiorari suit. We probably are not going to lose if we continue. The simple reason that we have formulas that we put together, our experts that have been hired tell us not, that we're not. Do we want a suit? Do we want to continue? No, we don't. We definitely would like someday a settlement. And the settlement that just was offered, the suit calls for a 90% reduction. The settlement calls for 59-60% reduction. But still $35,000 over a period of time increase in school taxes in Northport. It also calls for not a 200 and some odd million payback. That's eliminated. And everything I know that I've experienced is when we go to settlement eventually, or when this goes to court eventually, you know what? That won't be a reality, that 200 and something million dollars. They're not going to take it away now and then let you pay it later. They will negotiate that out. And all our indicators have told us that. Behind the scenes, they've told people this. So I think we can take the 200 and some odd million out of the formula. And let's go forward and make sure that the assessment is correct. We believe it is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Patron. Go.
The fact of the matter is that this year, the editorial department of Newsday actually said Frank Patron was gambling, playing Russian roulette with us, okay? Using it as a political ploy so that after November 5th, he could then decide which way he was going. Now, some of you may believe that, may not, but in my hand tonight, I have an inter-office memo that actually states that. And if anybody wants to see it, I'd be more than happy to show it to them. This is a political ploy by both Mark Hubbardson and Frank Patron. Thank you.
I'd invite you to read the contents of it to the crowd. I mean, we got a secret memo here? The fact is, I didn't interrupt you, Mr. Cook. Please don't interrupt me. The fact is that the LIPA tax lawsuit has the ability to have the most devastating effect on our town and the North Port East North Port School District. That's why we're fighting that. I don't agree with Mr. Harris's premise that we're going to lose this lawsuit. We're not going to lose it at 90%, okay? We need to fight this thing. We needed a stronger state delegation, and we needed a governor that would have worked with that delegation to resolve this issue as a part of the LIPA legislation. When they wanted to change LIPA, this should have been a part of that equation. Resolve this issue. We're a host community. We deserve better than to be left with this. But our state delegation and the governor decided they had to steamroll ahead and not deal with that. And that's a shame, and that's put us in a difficult situation. But we are going to continue to protect the taxpayers' interests and look at this issue and make sure we do what's best for the residents of our town.
The LIPA problem goes back 20 years and 17 years, and it's due to Councilman Cuthbertson and Supervisor Patron over-assessing the facility. Year after year, they piled on an additional assessment, and the residents relied upon this as their standard of living. The school district relied on it. It should never have been in the first place. Similar plants have a much lower assessment. Maybe it's $6 million for a similar plant, like the Cake-Art plant in the South Shore. This was assessed at 60 or 70 million. It's 10 times the assessment because every year the mistake has been compounded. And that was wrong, and that's why we're in this position right now. And as far as the attorneys, Supervisor Patron mentioned, I met with the attorneys. They were not optimistic, they were middle of the road. And I have to agree with Councilman Cook that this is a political ploy. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to politicize and grandstand on the issue. And that's why they set up a fake political party, the LIPA Party.
Newsday, no friend of Republicans, said that Frank Patron's plan on LIPA makes more sense politically than it does mathematically. Boy, does that say a lot. The same folks who got the East Northport area and the town of Huntington into this mess are the same people up here now pointing their fingers at other people. They overassess the plant year after year after year, and now they come up here and they say the reason why we're in this mess is because the state delegation didn't bail us out. When you are in office and you are a servant to the people who elect